What's crack-a-lackin' YouTube? I've talked a lot about artists I really like on this channel, so I thought today I'd do a deep dive into 5 artists who really influenced my work and are definitely some of my favourite photographers. Starting off with Berned and Hilla Becher. The Becher's work is outstanding to me, and it's really interesting to see an artist duo that work together as a couple. I first came across this work about 2 years ago at the start of university during a lecture, and I fell in love with it the moment I saw it. And it's easy to say it's had a massive influence on my idea and understanding of composition. At first glance you might feel the work is mundane. These typologies are just similar repeating images of water towers, buildings and various infrastructure. But I'll say bluntly, you're wrong. These are not mundane, these are anything but mundane. The Bechers would spend hours if not days crafting these compositions, waiting for the perfect lighting conditions using scaffolding and ladders to make their compositions, or shot on large format film. Their work exploits their subjects as their function, displaying our dependence on this infrastructure, contrasting the brutalism in the structures in rural areas, showing mankind's destruction on nature. Their highly methodic process of capturing these images creates a documented inventory of subjects displayed often in typologies to show the scale and repetition en masse. My favourite body of work from them have to be these water towers. They're dogmatic and domineering. All these metal frameworks and structures rusting from wear and nature, punctuating these landscapes. I love the Becher's work, especially their documentation of where nature and man-made structures collide. It's so visually interesting. I recreated a series of these typologies in my first year of uni. The module was about fiction, so with some influence from other artists. I did some video game photography in GTA 5, copying the water tower typologies and shooting it on film from my laptop and then printing them in the darkroom. This image by Strand, called Wall Street, is one of the first images I ever fell in love with. It was during my first year of A-levels in 2020, back when I was shooting digital and we were doing a course on modernism, and I saw this image and I fell in love with it. Strand is known for helping establish photography as an art form in the early 20th century, focusing on stunning pictorialism studies, and is easily a great contributor to the early modernist movement in America. Later on in his life he focused more on documentative work and filmmaking, which I don't really care about as much in terms of his body of work. It's more of his early documentation of modernism that really stands out to me. This image, titled Wall Street, taken in 1915, is monumental, and I mean that very literally. You have the newly constructed financial district casting these monolithic dark towers up the image. The repeating pattern and the dominant leading lines creates a surreal modernist image. You also have these people in the parallel motion to the monoliths, dwarfed by its presence, with vibrant shadows being cast upon the ground. I really love this image from Strand and so many of his other images, and it's definitely an artist you should check out. Tamer, also known as Unreal City on Instagram, is the original guy to send me down this destructive analog path I've went down. For context, when I first started shooting film in my second year of A-levels in 2021, I became quickly interested in post-process destructive techniques, and I still very much am. This involves chemigrams, destroying the film with chemicals, film souping, anything destructive, you name it, I've probably done it. If it ain't broke, break it is Tamer's motto for photography. This guy experiments with anything chemical, anything destructive and anything manipulative to distort and abstract the film. From growing crystals on film, chemigrams or souping or chemical mixes, he's done it. And 9 times out of 10 it's in my saved folder on Instagram. It's hard to say how much of an inspiration Tamer has been on most of my photography. Whenever I'm in a bit of an artist rut and I don't know what to do with my projects, I go through his account and I can find something I really like. These images decaying memory I took all the way back in 2022 at the end of A-levels were partly inspired by him. I remember seeing a post of his where the model was rendered softly out of focus with post-process destructive techniques on top, and I wanted to try that. Since then, that project has become a really big influence to me, and I redid it in 2023 and intend to redo it in 2025 too. I don't have much else to say about his work. Honestly, it's more of a visual experience to look at it all. If I had to pick one artist as my main inspiration, it is him. I'm not going to talk too much about Vivian Maier here because I kind of already have in so many other videos, especially my square format video, which you should definitely check out if you haven't already. Maier's street photography and use of a TLR and the square format have inspired me massively in my work. I mean, she's the main reason I brought my own TLR. Good old baby Yashica 24 up here, and the 7 rolls of film I shot in the last 5 days on it. I said earlier that Strand's Wall Street was the first image I ever fell in love with. Well, Vivian Maier is the first artist I fell in love with. I especially really got into her work when I first started shooting film, especially her self-portraits, because they're so visually interesting and complex. For someone who had little to no proper training and didn't display any of their work until after they died, she's incredible. But it's not just her self-portraits that I love. All of her portfolio is amazing, especially her street photography is so captivating. And the use of a TLR definitely brings such a grounded viewpoint to it all. She is a top tier artist and is someone I always talk about when I can because I absolutely love her work. Bill Jacobson is pretty new on my radar. I first heard of them back in October 2023, and once I saw his process, I absolutely fell in love with it. Jacobson creates these out of focus images using a large format camera, where he regularly adapts vintage or enlarged lenses to the front of it. The soft focus and the bellows of the large format camera allow him to create this really interesting abstract pieces of work, my favourite of his being intimate portraits. These images document the feeling and process of losing friends and loved ones to the AIDS epidemic. The intentionally overexposed images, the soft focus and the distant faces bleed into the studio background, creating this sad and eerie portrait, showing the pain that comes with grief. Jacobson has been a massive inspiration to me, again with my project Decaying Memory, wanting to go down that same kind of feeling of losing connections and loved ones. And if it wasn't for seeing his work and how it resonated with me, I don't think my project would have been what it is. He's a really cool artist and you should definitely check him out. I thought I'd throw in this honourable mention at the end, that being Maximum Dondiuk. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. My most recent project, Wasteland, at uni was one exploring Cold War paranoia and a fictitious nuclear event, and a lot of that inspiration came from his project called Untitled Project from Chernobyl. Dondiuk is a Ukrainian artist who went into the exclusion zone in Chernobyl and the surrounding Pripyat area, and collected old family archives and negatives left behind when everyone evacuated due to the nuclear incident there. All of these images had been decayed over time due to the situation at Chernobyl, and they look surreal now they've been refound and rescanned. This project is super cool and definitely deserves its own video essay as a whole, because I can talk about this for ages. Also, another honourable mention while I'm here, Agecroft Power Station by John Davies is an amazing image. It's so layered perfectly. Used to be one of my favourite images. Thank you for watching me ramble as always. If you like the video, definitely like and subscribe. I'm almost at 1k and I'd love to hit it sometime soon. My Instagram can be found linked in the description below as always. Matt out.